Jejinanga. Let's start with the Navkar mantra. Om Namo Arantanam, Om Namo Siddhanam, Om Namo Ayariyanam, Om Namo Vajayanam, Namo Visasamunam, Eso Panchanamokaro, Sarva Pavapanasano, Mangalancha Sarvesi, Paramam Have Mangalam, Paramam Have Mangalam. The purpose of all art is to ease the suffering of others. Now that occurs in different ways. Some art allows you to escape into a different world, and that's how you ease your suffering. Some art mirrors what you're feeling. For example, if you listen to sad music when you're sad, that helps some people sometimes because it mirrors what they're feeling and it shows that somebody else understands the problems that you're going through. Some art lifts you up. So some people like to read or listen to happy music when they're sad because it helps lift them up. And some art makes you think. Some people like abstract art or some art that they have to puzzle over for a little while. And that helps ease their suffering. And that's why we have all different kinds of art out there, but the purpose of all art is to ease the suffering of others. So today I thought we'd take a look at Jain art and see how it can ease our own suffering. So if everybody can see, can we turn off the light?
Yeah.
All right. So here we have a very typical kind of Jain symbol. This is the universe. If anybody doesn't know, this is the shape of the universe. We are on this plane here. These are the heavenly planes. These are the hellish planes. This is Siddhasila, where all the souls who have achieved moksha reside. Alright, so that's the shape of the universe. This hand represents ahimsa. Sometimes you'll see the word ahimsa here too. Sometimes you'll have 24 spokes on this wheel. That represents the 24 Tirthankars. All right, and so that reminds us, of course, that ahimsa is our kind of most important doctrine. All right, the swastika reminds us that there are 4 types of beings: human beings, animal beings, heavenly beings, and hellish beings. And because only one arm points upward toward moksha, that reminds us that only human beings can achieve moksha. In fact, heavenly beings cannot achieve moksha. They are stuck there until they until they burn off all the fruits of their good karma, at which point they will be reborn. The 3 dots here symbolize right faith, right knowledge, and right actions. Those are supposed to remind us of those. And this top here signifies Siddhasila, or the place we're all trying to get to. The reason we have colors here, we have 5 colors to represent the 5 vows. Does anybody remember what the 5 vows are?
Non-attachment, celibacy, non-violence,
non-stealing.
Non-stealing, great. One more.
Brahmacharya.
That's celibacy. So non-lying is the next one. Okay. So that's the reason we have 5 colors, and it also reminds us of the Panch Parmesti. Does anybody remember what the Panch Parmesti are?
Arihant.
Right. Right.
Acharya, Upadhyaya, Sadhu.
Very good. Okay. So welcome to everybody who just joined. We're talking about Jain art today. Okay, so this is a very common kind of theme. In case you haven't known what this represents, that's what this represents, and it's there to remind you of. You can see how this is kind of the foundation of Jainism. This is where all our doctrine flows from. So this is a very great representation. In case you didn't know, we have a Jain flag. Not many people know. This is the Jain flag. It's hard to see here, but hey, come on in. We're talking about Jain art today. Sit over here. You don't have to sit in the back. Not many people know, but we have a Jain flag. We talked about these already. These represent the same things. it's hard to see here, but there's a color here at the bottom. It's black. Okay?
Yeah.
So these 5 things also remind us of our 5 vows in the Panch Parmeshti. So questions about that?
I had no idea about the Jain flag.
Yeah.
So why this Jain
yeah.
flag is not hoisted everywhere in temple or wherever our Jain
Yeah, you
things are
see,
there?
yeah, orange flag maybe.
I could not tell you. I do not have a good answer for that.
I have no idea.
Other questions?
Only the Balikana ones.
I was asking, does Balikana or any of those temples have
There should be a, like on our Derasar here,
Uh-huh.
Shikhar, but there is a flag. It's red, white, red, I think, right?
Okay.
It's not this one. And I don't know.
Maybe this hasn't been standardized yet. Maybe not everybody knows that this is the Jain flag. Maybe people don't like it. I don't know. I don't like the color black. I'm not sure why we have the color black there. But, okay.
Where did you find it?
The Jain flag? Oh, it's all online.
Oh.
All right. So here we have rock carvings at Siddhachal caves inside the Gwalior Fort. Gwalior Fort, sorry.
Gwalior.
Yeah. So these are monuments, and there's only a few Tirthankars depicted here, but they're all 24 if you look at the whole thing.
Do you know where that is?
It's in Madhya Pradesh. So these are the most visited statues in India, and there's something important. You'll see that all of the Tirthankars kind of look the same. In Jain art, we don't depict Tirthankars as having unique facial features or unique body features. How we tell them apart is the symbols associated with the Tirthankars. And that's important because we don't revere their bodies, right? We revere their souls. We revere the qualities of them that it took to achieve moksha, right? And so we don't, in Jainism, we don't revere bodies at all. Come on in. We're talking about Jain art. Sit over there so you can see
no
the screen.
backbenchers and all.
Yeah, that's
And so that's very important because once historians have identified that, well, it's kind of all the same facial features and it's all the same pose. Well, now when they unearth something, they can tell it's probably Jain based on the way it looks. And so, for example, sometimes you have Jain statues appearing in like Hindu caves and things like that. And so they can tell that they're Jain statues. Hey, come on in. And so all the features of the Tirthankars look the same, and the elongated ears.
More people are.
The elongated ears represent. So these Tirthankars, they're always born in the royal or the Kshatriya class, right? Because they always need to renounce their worldly possessions, right? So the ears are because they have gold earrings before they do renounce that. So whenever you see the Tirthankars with long ears, it's because their ears have been elongated because of their wealth that they renounce. Okay? We're talking about Jain art today. Thank you so much for coming. This is one of the most famous statue sets in India. We went over these symbols. This is the Jain flag. And this, of course, is the common, most of the common symbols in Jainism. Okay, so this pose is also very common. This is one of the hardest poses to meditate in. It's called standing meditation. And this pose is extremely common. And so if you see a Jain statue with kind of indistinct facial features in this pose with elongated ears, you'll know that it's a Jain statue. Okay, so moving back for a second, most of all of Jain art is in sculpture form. Okay, we really excel in that, most likely because we needed to fill our temples with things. In kind of European art, it's all paintings and stuff like that, but most Jain art is actually in rock. Okay, and so here we have a statue of Suparshvanath. We can tell that it's him because of the hair, the specific hair, and the symbols associated with him. This is the most common way to depict Jain Tirthankars and other individuals. That's not the standing pose. This, is, of course, is the meditation pose. This statue was made around the 14th century. And so this is another really common way. You'll notice the elongated ears, the indistinct facial features, and you'll notice the symbols there. That's how we tell them apart. Okay, so this is probably one of the most famous statues. This is the Gomateshwara statue. This is in Shravanbengola in Karnataka. So in case you can't tell, this is really tall. This is 57 feet high and is carved out of a single block of granite. And the person that this is depicting is Bahubali, which means strong, one with strong arms. So Bahubali was the first son of Rishabdev, who was our first Tirthankar. This statue, it depicts him in the meditating pose. It depicts the part of his life where he was meditating in the forest for 1 year. So you'll see at the bottom, there are kind of vines, and those vines have started growing on his body because he was motionless for 1 year. All right, and there's also an anthill in the back, and the anthill, the ants were biting his feet, but of course he didn't move for 1 year. There's also a snake. One of these vines is actually a snake, and he remained motionless while the snake was crawling across his body. So if you take a look at this, it gives you a little bit better perspective. This, of course, is a person, and she barely rises up above the statue's feet. And every 12 years, Jains anoint the statue. There's a scaffolding that's placed behind the statue, and milk and ghee and flowers are dumped on the statue, and they kind of drip down the statue. And the reason that this is so perfectly preserved is people say that helps preserve the statue, the stone, that anointing that goes on every 12 years. On the side of the statue, there are
12 years or it's every year?
every 12 years the anointing happens, that special puja happens. And on the side of the statue is two chowri bearers, a yaksha and a yakshini, and they service they represent the service of Bahubali.
Other side.
Hey, come on in. We're talking about Jain art today. And so you'll see these statues are also taller than a person, but of course they're very small. You probably didn't even notice they were right here in the picture, on the left and the right. Okay, so questions about anything we talked about? Hey, come on in. We're talking about Jain art today.
Oh, okay.
I have been to this place.
Oh, you have? Tell us about it.
So it is on a height. You have to climb some steps. I don't know how many steps, but yeah, the last few steps are very tough to climb. And then we have this big statue. So it's a really divine place, and there are some Jain families. So they feed you the food when you go there. You have to go and eat, for your lunch. You can go to their home and they will feed you free of cost. So it's a very nice place to be. It's 5 hours from Bangalore.
Right.
So when I was in Bangalore, I had been to this place. Shravanbengola.
That's great.
So
So next,
reason like why that place because are there a lot of Jain?
Yeah, Digambar Jains are there.
Okay.
So many Digambar Jains are there. So in South India, you will find many Digambar Jains,
Oh, okay.
especially in Karnataka.
Also Therapanthis, right?
Therapanthi also, but mostly they are all Digambar Jains. The local Karnataka and Tamilian, you'll find a lot of Digambar Jains.
great. So those are the common kind of statue art that you'll see, and that's the most common kind of Jain art you'll see. But let's stop talking about statues. Let's talk about something else. This is another very common scene you'll see in Jain art. This is called the Samavasaran Hall. that is where the Tirthankars preached and how they preached. So you'll see the Tirthankar in the center, this is Mahavir, and you'll see in the first circle that is his disciples or Ganadhars, okay? So this is where Gautam Swami would sit, in this first circle. In the second circle, you'll see ascetics or holy people. Next, you'll see a class of nuns. In the next 3 halls, you'll see lay women. In the next 4 halls, you'll see heavenly beings. In the 11th hall, you'll see men, and you'll see animals in the last hall. So this is how he delivered his sermons.
Yeah, can I see that?
And this is the top view of that. Actually, it's a structure where it's like a multi-layered cake that we have, right? So that's how it is. But this is a top view.
That's right. So if you want to see what it might look like in real life, yeah, this is like the cake structure. So what happens is the Tirthankar doesn't actually sit on the throne. He floats above the throne. So you'll notice that they won't be actually sitting there.
Sorry, it's me.
He's just used to getting on.
Okay.
No, so we can see it.
The Tirthankar sits facing the east, but he appears to be looking in every direction. All the humans and animals can understand what the Tirthankar is saying in the Samavsaran. And for about 60 days after, everybody is less violent and less greedy. It doesn't matter what language you speak, you can always understand the Tirthankar in the Samavasara.
Share the screen. I think you gotta share your screen.
Okay, sure.
I can see it too on my phone.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay, so let me go to the next one. All right, here's another example. Okay. So next we have a manuscript cover. So in the holy text, there's lots of artwork that appears in the manuscripts. So this is one of those. Can anybody identify what this is?
Joseph.
That's right. There's 14 dreams. So we have a lion, a bull, an elephant, a bull, a lion, a pair of garlands, the moon, the sun, Does anybody know what this is? No, we have a lotus pond, the sea represented by a ship. We have the goddess Lakshmi, a heap of gems, and smokeless fire.
That's the flag, I think.
Probably is the flag. Yeah,
Ah,
that's the one we missed.
the flag.
Yeah.
Oh, and this underneath the flag is the carriage.
Baby.
So since I started sharing, I can't. Can't get back here. Let me continue. Thanks to everybody just joining us. We're talking about Jain art today. Alright, so here we have another, this is a bas-relief, which is not a 3D statue, it's a kind of a sheet of rock, and we have made indentations in a rock to create a picture. So this, of course, is Queen Trishula, and you see in the circles there are the 14 dreams, and her attendants are surrounding her. So one thing you'll notice immediately is that there are distinct facial features here, right? These are not Tirthankars. We want people to recognize who this is, and it's obviously very beautiful. So,
Where's that?
I do not know. So questions or comments about anything we talked about?
And all this is written in which one of our scriptures or something, all the satnas and all. Which one is that?
So most likely it'll be the Kalpa Sutra.
Language could be Prakrit. Prakrit.
All right. So does anybody recognize what this depicts?
The Anikantva.
Very close. So this depicts the story of the 6 men and the mango tree. Does anybody remember that story? The men...
Yeah, cut the.
Okay, does anybody want to tell us the story?
So, I think they were going in a jungle and they saw a mango tree, and then one felt I should cut the whole tree. The other felt no, we should cut the bark, the branch, and then the other felt no. And then finally one said, why don't we pick the mangoes from the ground? Something like that.
Exactly. And what does that illustrate? It's not anikantvad. It's not that everybody has a different viewpoint, and that it illustrates lesha, or your mindset, and precluded thoughts. That is, the person who has decided to cut the whole tree down, he didn't think of, oh, I could just pick the mango from the tree because of his mindset, because he has a very violent mindset. And so what we want to do is we want to get our mind right to be the person who just pick the fruit off the ground, right? Because the person, let's say, that just even picks the mango from the tree, he didn't think about, oh, I could pick the fruit off the ground, because he doesn't have the right mindset, he doesn't have the right lesha. Okay, so that's what this represents. Okay, can anybody tell us what this is? It's not a trick question, okay? This is just a sadhvi, all right? She's seated, and she. Why does a sadhvi cover her mouth?
So she doesn't harm any. Yeah.
That's right. So she doesn't harm any bacteria by speaking, because the sadhvi mainly speaks. That's one of the very few actions that she does. And when a sadhvi walks, she brushes away the insects from her path. That's basically the only 2 things a sadhu and sadhvi do, are walk and speak. And so they want to minimize the violence that they do. And so we can see that they do these things. And that makes us think about, well, maybe we need to minimize the violence of our actions. And maybe we need to stop. If a sadhu or sadhvi can just walk or speak, and those are the only actions that they do, maybe we can minimize our actions too. And of course, the sadhvi is holding a mala. Does anybody know what the mala is used for?
No, correct.
That's right. And how many beads are on the mala?
108.
108. That's right. And so if we have this piece of art, let's say in our home, this will remind us to be more like a sadhu and sadhvi, right? Okay. Can anybody tell what this represents?
Tirtha.
That's right. A Tirthankar sitting in a meditative posture. What's nice is that this reminds us that we're not bodies, right? It's not the body of the Tirthankar that's important. So why even put it in a statue, right? It's the soul that's important. It's what's on the inside. So we see what's on the inside. This halo effect is very common to depict holy people. And those are the important parts, right? It's not about what material it's made out of. It's not about what stone is it made out of. It's not about the shape of the stone that we made. It's just a line art that helps us remember what's important. As you guys know, this class has always been about taking Jainism out of these four walls and into your life to help your life, right? To increase the quality of your life. All right, so tell me, how does any of this increase the quality of our life? Okay, we can turn on the light and turn on the fan if you guys are hot.
They all are waiting outside. They just told me they have a meeting over here at 11. I just said
That's too bad. Can you turn on the fans and the lights?
Wait for them, right?
Right. So now what is the point of all this, right? Why did I take you through that, make you sit in this hot room to talk about art? Like, how does that help your life?
Visualization, right? You visualize the art like you mentioned, like, just a line art of the Tirthankar, right? What it depicts is pretty much you should focus on soul and not external lasyas or activities, man, vachan, kaya, right?
Right.
Again.
Right. So if you fill your house with Jain art, it reminds you of what you should be doing with your life, right? And it reminds you to increase the quality of your life by following the precepts you know to be true, because there are so many distractions and so many things trying to lead you off the path, right? So it's a mindfulness tool. That is, we can use art as a mindfulness tool if we have it in our house. Here's the problem though. I have art in my house. I never look at it. I know it's there. It's been there for years, right? I hardly ever look at it, and I don't stand in front of it and contemplate it, and I don't do all of that. So how can we overcome that?
Invite your friends over so they appreciate your art.
And I think just having the art is not enough. We should know the meaning of the art. So today we came to know what is the meaning of each art. So if we know the meaning, I think we can understand the importance better. Right. Otherwise, just keeping an art without knowing the meaning of it, it just become a piece of art. And that's why you may not even see it every day. But when you understand the meaning, I think you will have a real value of it.
Right.
and also talking about it with the family, friends, and kids, and all. So
that's great.
like right now, we talked about it. That's when we all are noticing it, and yeah, this is great, and this is So we need to talk more about it
and spread awareness among family members and others. For example, Jain flag, we were not aware of that there is a Jain flag, and now I feel that, why this flag is not being advertised enough everywhere in our Jain, the tirthas and everywhere. So maybe if I have a temple in my house, I should have a Jain flag on top of it or something like that.
Right.
That's what now I feel that I should have it.
And remember, the purpose of all art is to ease the suffering of others. And that happens in different ways. Some art allows you to escape into a different world to ease your suffering. Some art lifts you up when you're sad. Some art mirrors your emotion to ease your suffering. But guess what? The purpose of Jainism is to ease your suffering. Okay? So what better way to ease your suffering than combining two things that are designed to ease your suffering? Jainism and art. Now, is anybody confused? This is very important to me. Is anybody confused about how Jainism can ease our suffering? Because Jainism can improve the quality of your life right now. I'm not talking about, oh, I'll get good karma and I'll have a good life next life. I'm not talking about, I should be working on getting rid of all my karma so I can go to moksha eventually. You can start having a better life right now if we stop talking about it within these four walls and start applying it to our life, in our life. Is anybody confused about that? Because superficially it looks like it doesn't, right? Well, I have to meditate, I have to fast, and I have to do all these things I really don't want to do. It seems like it's harming the quality of my life. Does anybody have any questions? This is very important to me that you understand that Jainism is designed to help you have an easier life.
So I give you the example. My sister is overweight, and she was like suffering from migraine and all. But she started doing Vaishna from position day 1, and still date she is doing Vaishna every day, and her migraine is gone. She lost weight. She feels so good. She more energetic, and also now she feels like more taking Bhagwan Naam and all those things. So just doing that, she just started for the position, and now she likes so much. So yes, it's true that Jainism, the Vyasana, Ekasana, Upas, all, it's important for body, mind, everything, and that's how you get more time. Now she gets more time to do other stuff like Samayik and all those things. So yes, it changes life. Yeah.
Right. Does anybody know, we recently discovered Vyasana. Does anybody know what we call it? We call it intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting,
right?
yes, exactly.
You'll see people say, oh, intermittent fasting helped me so much.
Yeah.
Well, we had known about it for a long time.
Exactly.
So questions or comments about anything we talked about? Does anybody know someplace we can get Jain art? We want to support Jain art. We want to support our local artists. Does anybody know where we can get Jain art?
I know artists that draw. I don't know if they draw Jain art, but if we give it to them or show them pictures, I'm pretty sure they can draw something.
That's great.
But
This is not a question I'm answering because I know the answer. I'm asking you guys. So how can we practice what we preach, right?
Right.
How can we get Jain art to fill our homes? How can we support artists maybe here in Houston, maybe artists in India, to fill our homes with art? Some of us are lucky we have the income to buy art, so maybe we want to use that to increase the quality of our life. Does anybody want to do any research for next time and come give a report to me on how we can buy Jain art?
Etsy sells it. Etsy sells it, so I mean.
Okay, Etsy sells Jain art.
That's what it says.
Actually, I was going to do the same after class.
Yeah.
Great, so I assume there are paintings. Oh, there's a sculpture there too. Yeah, you can buy sculptures. How much is the sculpture of Mahavir?
120.
Oh, that's great. Is it marble? $120 for a sculpture of Mahavir?
Only one available. 5 people have it in their cart.
I mean, that's really good, right? I thought that a marble sculpture would be like a lot more than $120. So that's great. It's affordable too, right? It shouldn't be out of the reach of anybody, right? And so, tell me what you want to do with Jain art to bring it out of the classroom and into your life. How can we do that? Besides filling up our home with art. Well, can't we fill up the temple with art? Can't you pressure the leadership to put Jain art here in the temple? I mean, our temple area looks great, right? But what about the rest of the place? I mean, wouldn't our kids do that same thing? Wouldn't our kids look at it and see, well, what's this? Well, who's that? Or why is this here,
So
How about we fill up the temple with Jain art?
I think it's the Toronto Jain Center.
Uh-huh.
They created like an art library prior to you entering the temple. So it's like a walkway, and they have art, and then they have their library right next to it, and the temple itself.
That's great because that puts you in the right mindset when you enter the temple, right? If you're forced to walk down the hallway. I'm sure that people just walk and don't look at anything because they've seen it a million times, right? But at least it will try to remind you.
There are a lot of other temples, like in New Jersey, they've done the same, where they use because of the height of the temple, they actually use the top for storyboard. So, but I don't know if you can go buy Jain Art in the US.
It's pretty easily available in India, but I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my grandfather will probably know, and if he would like, I can find out.
Yeah, we would definitely like that.
So in our Boston temple, they had kept Chow Swapna made of silver. They had kept it in the temple in a show, so that people can understand it.
That's great. Do you guys want to get together and buy a piece of art for the temple? Okay. Does anybody want to take charge of that project? Nobody wants to do it.
What kind of art are you talking?
Yes. Let's hear from Mihir. Yes, Mihir.
So one thing, as you were explaining this, I recall now that I see a lot of families in India who have Palitanu pictures, and the Chaturdashi it shows all the different things on the Palitanu. So I never thought about that as art and something to talk about, because I think, as you mentioned, I've never had somebody explaining me, looking at the art and say, okay, this is the purpose for it. Obviously, everybody does the darshan of it, and I guess it reminds you that you should go to Palitana. But having the art is one thing. But as you mentioned, the meaning behind it, the purpose of it, to talk about it is the other. Even in our Virata in Houston, there is a Palitanu, I guess it's called Park. Is there outside, right outside the door. But everybody stands there, when I don't know if anybody talks about it, I'm there in a particular way, I think it's how people. So, I definitely would love to participate in getting the art, but I think we need to create another awareness and talk about the things that already here.
Right.
Is what I just thought about it, as you were describing.
Right. Certainly. So if you guys want to go through this art project here, we'll all decide to commit a certain amount of money. It doesn't have to be a large amount of money. We'll have a committee decide on where to put it, and that will the budget and the location will inform what we can get, and then we can install it in the Jain Center after we get approval. It's not like a one-day thing. It's like a month. I guess it would be like a month-long project. Does anybody want to commit to that?
Yeah, I can be part of that.
Okay. Do you want to lead the project?
I don't know many people here, so I don't know whether I can lead it, but I can be part of that project for sure.
Okay, no problem. So that's what it would involve. What do you think is a good amount of money? If everybody donates $20, we could get $200?
Yeah.
Is that something we could do?
Yes. Yeah. Certainly.
Okay. And we could buy a statue of Mahavir for $200. Obviously, I think we've got plenty of statues, but we could buy certainly a painting to put up in the hall.
So what we want to do, we want to put some paintings or things in our hallway.
It depends on the budget, what we can get for the budget, and where we can install it. Right, all those things will inform.
I just got an idea that we have good. Can we buy pictures of our famous teerths like Palitana or Delwada Mandir, so we can put those pictures of our teerth, Ranakpur teerth.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can buy the posters of those teerth and put it across so that our kids and everybody, not just kids, everybody will know that these are our famous teerthas in India. So that is one idea I had in my mind.
Okay, great. I like that. Does everybody like that idea?
Yeah. If you do that, can we have a little board next to it saying this is where it is?
Some write up on it, some historical write up on it. Yeah, history about
something that someone can read and
explanation
understand. Some explanation.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create a separate WhatsApp group. Does everybody in here want to be part of that group? We'll call it what? Dad's Class Art Project?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll And then one person will have to be in charge of the fundraising, and one person will have to be in charge of the procurement, and then one person will have to be in charge of the installation. So I think at least 3 people, right? I mean, one person could be in charge of everything, but that's too much, right? So why don't we distribute it among 3 people, okay? And then we can go from there?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that.
So procurement, where to buy and everything, we will have to find out, right?
Absolutely. Any questions or comments about anything we talked
We'll
about?
need to get their permission upfront before we place the order.
Sure. Yeah, we can. We probably don't need to if we want to beautify this room. We probably don't need to. I mean, I don't recall getting anybody's permission when we put up the whiteboard. Did we do that? No. Yeah.
But do we want to do it here? Or
Certainly, if we did it in the main hall, we would.
Then
If we
people
did it here, we won't have to.
That's there's actually.
We should try there, then people will look at it.
I can send you a poster that will fit the whole wall, so it's like you're in somewhere like that. I
We
can
had
send
one
you-
poster in.
So we tore it down when we did
Yeah,
the demo.
that's
we took it down. That's sitting on the side inside.
What is that in?
I don't remember exactly, but we had there was a frame that was mounted right next to the prayer room on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did the demo for that thing, we took that frame down, and that's still sitting there in the side.
There are some already exist here. We need to actually go and put them back too if we can.
Other
While doing this
idea,
exercise.
just think the thought coming to my mind is, see, right now we are talking about raising fund among ourselves to buy arts. We can also reach out to our entire community that yes, we are going to create a museum kind of thing where we are going to display art. If anyone is interested to sponsor one art of whatever kind of, they can buy and they can put it in this place, and we will put their name, and then we can describe that this art has been sponsored by so and so person.
Seems like we have a fundraiser.
Well, before we do that, we have to show people what's possible. Right. We have to do
so
it ourselves.
First we have
first.
to do within ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe if we put say 5 or 6 arts by ourselves, maybe then we can go to people and then say, okay, now we want to have more art to be displayed.
Okay, I am going to send this around, and you can sign up for the art project. And then if you put your name down, then I will add you to the group. Can you write Mihir's name down? And that way,
Mihir, we'll take euros. It's okay.
for those of you that don't know, Mihir is in Brussels. He just moved there a couple weeks ago.
We have to write our number also, right?
I have your number. I have. Yeah, I have your number.
If you're on
but
next class, then you don't need to. But if you're new to it,
yeah.
write your number.
Thanks to all the new faces that showed up. Do we want to go around and introduce ourselves? The purpose of Dad's class is to support each other on the spiritual path, and to also network with each other as far as our jobs and businesses go too. We need to support each other in our whole lives, not just in our spiritual life. So if we want to go around and introduce yourself and tell me where you work, that would be great. My name is Timur Cheda. I'm an attorney at Selman, Munson & Lerner. I grew up here. I went to Patsala here, and so I'm happy to continue the journey with everybody. And this is a journey that we're going through together. It's hard when you do it by yourself, but it's easier when you lean on us and you lean on other people to do it. So with this, I'll set up this group today, and I'll ask for the 3 positions. I'll ask for volunteers, fundraising, for procurement, and installation, and then we can go from there. Any other questions or comments about anything we talked about today?
Timur, I just want to add something. So, as Jains, I think we should obviously think about the project here in Houston. But one of the things I kind of sparked in my mind is there's a Hindu temple here in Brussels, and to promote and make Jainism, I guess, known to others. There is something we can also think about going somewhere else. So, maybe at a temple in Houston. I mean, I can think about somewhere here in Brussels as well. So, it's just of thinking for the art project, it doesn't have to be, I assume it doesn't have to be within the temple only.
It's a topic for different days class.
Sure, it doesn't have to be within our temple. It can be within different places. But I'd like for us to see the fruits of our labor and have it be to beautify the temple. So I certainly appreciate all the ambitious ideas that everybody has. But let's see if we can get one project done first and then build upon that success to make those ambitious ideas come to reality. So Akash, Daga, do I have your number? Are you in the WhatsApp group? Okay, so I just want to make sure. I was just on my phone. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure I have everybody's number. I invited you. I sent you an invite. I just want to make sure we're not having communication issues. Is everybody? Yeah, it looks like everybody is on the WhatsApp group. Thank you so much for your time this week. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jay. And everybody. Take care.
It's your book? Yeah.
This looks like new. You take 5 of my books. At least it brings along.